Hi, this is James Gordon Royale here with the first book in the James Bond series. Today's book I'll be talking about today, Casino Royale by Ian Fleming. This was first published by Jonathan Cape on April 13th, 1953. This edition is from Panther. This is from 1978. This is actually the second time I've read this book, Casino Royale. I read it a very long time ago. While when I was reading it, I didn't really remember much when I first read it, but I really enjoyed this book. It's very well written. The pacing is good. The characters are well layered and crafted. There's a lot of intense moments in the story that I really enjoyed, and overall, this was a really good story. I really liked the first and second act of the book a lot. The third and final part, I felt it dragged on a little bit too long, but overall, I still enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading more books in the James Bond series. Alright, on to the book review. Plot: secret agent for MI6 James Bond, or known by his codename 007, is assigned by his boss M to play against Richefre, a paymaster for the rival spy organization SMERSH, during a baccarat game at Casino Royale in Royale in France. Richefre's real name is unknown, or his date of birth. He was first reported in a German prison camp in 1945, suffering from amnesia. After recovering from his injuries, he was later recruited into the KGB, handling funds for the Soviets, then being selected by SMERSH. Richefre dresses sharp, drinks, smokes, enjoys his women along with his fast cars, as he's both a skilled driver and combat with knives and firearms. However, he is in debt, and it's reported that he owes both the KGB and SMERSH money. He is also linked to two deaths of double agents for MI6. M chose James Bond since he's a skilled gambler for the mission. He'll send James Bond to France with 10 million francs and will be given 10 million more later, and is allowed to keep 5% of his earnings while posing as a Jamaican playboy. Before leaving, M wants James to visit Q for any gear or weapons he'll need for the mission, and will be given a partner to work with, along with the CIA also aiding in the mission. James Norrie works alone but decides not to argue with his boss. Staying at the fancy Hotel Splendide, James goes over every inch of his room to ensure nobody has bugged it or broken into his room, carrying a .38 Colt Police revolver as his sidearm with the barrel cut down, along with a .25 caliber Beretta pistol as his backup. James is later visited by a French agent, Mathis, who also aiding Bond. He tells James of his partner, dubbed as Number 2, along with a CIA agent, Felix Leiter. He is also told about the villa that Richefre owns, and is never alone, as he always travels with two bodyguards. After breakfast, James takes his prized Battleship Grey 1931 belly blower to check out the villa, along with the scenery in Royale. While getting a drink at the bar with Mathis, James meets Number 2, Vesper Lynn, a very beautiful woman with short black hair and dark blue eyes. As the two drink, smoke, and get to know each other better, James goes to make a phone call and is nearly killed in a bomb blast as Mathis helps him up. Before the bomb went off, James saw two men in straw hats. He believes the two men are working for Richefre. James goes to the casino at night to warm himself up and earn extra money. He studies the layout of the Casino Royale before playing a few games till he reaches 1 million francs. Later on, he meets CIA agent Felix, as the two dine together while having drinks and talking to each other. Felix, a middle-aged man from Texas, was once part of the Joint Staff of Intelligence, along with working for NATO, until he became a CIA agent. While he isn't allowed to go after Richefre, but has been assigned to help James Bond in any way for the mission, then Mathis, with the aid of the French Secret Service, they are able to capture the two men that tried to assassinate James. From what Mathis could gather, they were hired thugs paid to kill him, but they don't know who hired them. After preparing himself, along with being told some tips to help him with the game and his opponent, James is ready to face off in a high-stakes baccarat game with Richefre, bringing in 35 million francs. While at the gambling table, James meets other rich people who are taking part in the game, along with Vespa and Felix. Well, at the start of the baccarat game gets off to a good start, with James beating many of the other players, but towards the end, Richefre is able to beat him and earns all of Bond's money. Feeling embarrassed, James believes the mission is over and will have to report back to M, along with telling him he lost all the money. However, Felix gives him his remaining money, allowing James to get back into the game, and knows he cannot lose again. However, James receives a death threat to leave at once but refuses. The stakes are now doubled with Richefra taking dramatic action to assure he doesn't lose to James Bond, but they aren't the only players in this deadly game, with Smirch also trying to stop both men and someone is working against Bond. Despite all against him, James still has luck on his side. However, not everyone will come out as winners. Casino Royale was an engaging thriller. The first scene of the Baccarat game and the flashback leading up to the event was great. Very well written, detailed locations, people, cars, and weapons. Well written and crafted characters, as was fun reading the scenes of James Bond, Felix, and Richefre. Also enjoyed the short card chase along with a very brutal scene of Richefre torturing Bond was intense. While the pacing was good at the start, however, towards the end, I felt the later part of the novel dragged on a bit, as Ian could have wrapped up everything sooner than having scenes of Bond with Vespa until her timely end. But I still enjoyed it. But I still enjoyed this novel. As for the 2006 film of the same, I didn't like how it was done. Most of the plot of the novel is thrown out and changed into a big Hollywood action flick, then a spy thriller, along with a bunch of subplots that don't belong in the original story, and James Bond is more of a reckless agent than a smart and skilled agent. Also, the brutal torture scene isn't graphic, and because of the PG-13 rating, they aren't allowed to show much, as I felt the film would have been better if it was given an R rating. And as for the 69 satire of Casino Royale, don't bother with it or the 2006 remake. They aren't good as the novel. Overall, I highly recommend Casino Royale as it's a great start to the James Bond series. Alright, that's it for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it, and I apologize if this took a little longer than expected. This month has been crazy. I've been just doing, trying to get, this book finished, and things keep popping up, so, yeah, it's just one of those things. But I am already begun with the second book in the James Bond series, so I'll be reading more of it tonight to get this series going, as I want to get the reviews up as quick as I can, so that way this does not take too long. But overall, I really enjoyed the first book of James Bond Casino Royale. It was an excellent thriller. I really liked the scenes of where James Bond gets to France, and you know he's at this fancy hotel, then he's at the casino, and it's very like all like glitz and glamour, and it's like everyone's dressed sharply and nicely. And I find it interesting that his first car is actually a Bentley blower, and it was very interesting to look up this car when I was doing my review, and I looked up the research to see what the car looked like. I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's a very old style car for a James Bond to drive, but it was really interesting. The characters are very well written and crafted. And I felt Ian does a really good job making the Richefre a very mysterious villain, even though he's he only makes an appearance in this one book. He was a very intimidating, kind of creepy villain, as it's stated that he has false teeth, and he's not really in the best of shape, and yet he's just very menacing looking with like these cold eyes. So I really like that part. Bond, I like the main character, James Bond. Always a fun character to read. The other characters we come to know were interesting. As I said, I really like the first and second act of the book a lot. It's really good. The scenes don't drag on. Ian just gets right to it, and there's a bit of a like the first page is pretty much the second Baccarat game in the story. Then he does a flashback where it leads up to the event, so I really enjoyed that. So I enjoyed that. The only thing I didn't like with the third act of the book is where James Bond is with Vespa like too much, and I thought, okay, like can we please get this like moving already? Like what is James Bond doing? He's not thinking of retiring. He basically is recovering from his injuries after the events of this book, and I don't want to give too much spoiler away for anyone who hasn't read this book, but I just felt the last part of the scene was just dragging on, and then finally he gets rid of one of the other characters to end the story. I thought you could have done this so much sooner, or had something else happen instead than leading up to this event. That was the only thing I didn't like with the book, but other than that, I enjoyed it. And as I said, for the the two films, well, I haven't actually seen the '67 satire film. To me, I think that's a joke. The idea to turn into like this big comedy thing that actually make a serious, well, not serious, like a good spy thriller film. And then as for the '06 film of the same, I do not like the Daniel Craig film of the same name. as I said, it throws a lot out of throws the pretty much the a lot of the plot out of the novel. They add a bunch of stuff that was not part of it, like what was it? James Bond kills some guy, and it's in like shot in black and white, and then it shows him in Madagascar hunting after some guy, and at one point he drives like a construction vehicle, and he's trying to ram the guy down with a bulldozer. He's not going this stuff down, and they're jumping off buildings, and it's like, where the hell is this come from? And then later on, James Bond has to stop Louis Schiffer from blowing up a plane. It's like, what is this coming from? And it's like he's driving a truck and he's just going through things. I'm like, what the hell is? Where did this come from? This is not in the original story. I just really didn't like that film at all. It just, to me, it felt like a very Hollywood-ish action movie, and that's not what James Bond's about. It's about spy thriller. It has to have its moments of action, but to me, that was when they went way over the top with the action, just too much, and then they added some other things I didn't like with it. So overall, I don't like that film at all. Um, but as I said, I find the book, in my opinion, way better, and as another scene that they kind of they heavily edited was the torture scene, which in the book is very brutal, and the film while it is I remember actually the first time I actually saw that part of the film, I actually shut it off because I didn't like what I was seeing, and then when I saw it a second time with my dad when we did the James Bond marathon, I just felt like I recall that the book, it was a lot more brutal than what they're showing in the film, because again, it's a PG-13 rating. They can't show a lot in the book. It's a lot more brutal what happens to Bond. So in my opinion, I think that film would have been better if it wasn't R-rated than PG-13, as you can only show so much with a PG-13 rating. R-rating, on the other hand, you can show whatever you want. But overall, I really enjoyed the first book. Alright, that's it for the review today. I hope you enjoyed it, and as I said, I'll begin with the next book, Live and Let Die. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of this series. Alright, that's it for the book review today. Hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe to Octara Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group with the same name. And please watch review fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.